Listen in if you'd like to reduce part of your wages bill by up to 90%. Yep. 90.
I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some great marketing and grow your business. And that was a very professionally done intro by a listener who I don't know. I just tried to call him to thank him, but he wasn't there. Lachy Doley, who just off his own bat kindly produced that for me. So a big thank you, Lachy. And in fact, I'm going to read the Facebook message that came through with the attachment of that intro shortly, because he's implementing a lot of what he's learning on this show. Before I do that, we do have a big show today. Listener feedback, a listener question about how to drive business in downtime. I've got a net registry tip about backlinks. Back what? And I've got a fireside chat with serial entrepreneur Mike O'Hagan, who started Mini Movers, and now he runs an offshoring tour operation out of Manila. So he's big on what I call outsourcing. He calls offshoring for good reasons. Oh, so much to get into. Let's go.
Small Business, Big Marketing with Tim Reid.
All right, so that wonderful intro that you heard at the start of the show was sent to me by Lachy Doley. I'm going to give you his domain name because you got to check him out, LACHYDOLEY.com. Here's what he said in a little Facebook message. Hey, Timbo, I'm a long-time listener and I've recorded you a new intro theme for a few giggles. I'm actually an independent muso and session muso from Sydney. Some of my claims to fame you are in fact a fan of. I sure am. Check this out, listeners. I currently play for Barnsley. Love Working Class Man. And I've got second prize on my gym playlist. You wouldn't believe that. And then he says, and before that, Bernard Fanning and his amazing album packaging, which I commented on a previous episode. Lachy played for Powderfinger for the last 6 years they were around. Lachy, you're a rock star, mate. Can I have some microphone tips? I want to know how to kind of use a microphone like a rock star. He goes on to say, however, my main focus is the Lachy Doley Group, and his band's released 2 albums and a DVD. Here he goes. I discovered SBBM about a year ago now, and it's been my companion on many a long trip touring around Oz. See? Create helpful marketing team and people listen to you in all sorts of strange places, including touring buses. I managed to put in place many concepts you have spoken about and am continually inspired to take action and creatively find ways, wait for this, to implement strategies from your marvellous guests, even if they're from a polar opposite business to mine, which is most of the time. I've got to pause there. This is the thing. Don't listen in for ideas that are just specifically relevant to your business. Listen to the ideas and see what they spark in your mind that you can apply in your business. You know, this is the power of it. When I talk from stage, I share ideas not always relevant to the audience in the hope they're just going to spark creative juices in their own marketing. And that's really important. So well done to you, Lachy, for doing that. He goes on to say, you've also inspired me, Timbo, to start my own podcast, interviewing indie artists like myself who are doing great, clever, creative things and successfully getting their music out there. He's 5 episodes in. The show's called Indie Musician Major Business. Love it! Just want to say you're an absolute legend, Timbo, and keep up the brilliant work. Cheers, Lachy. Lachy, mate, you're a legend. To be able to create an intro like that, that's art, mate. That is skill right there. And good on you for being a muso with a commercial bent and not just there to create art, so to speak, which I fully admire, but you got to make a living too. So I'm so glad I can help you do that. Hey, listeners, if you want to send me something like an intro, probably not everyone can create an intro, but I did get sent some toilet paper the other day, as if you would have heard a couple of shows back. But any marketing feedback or questions, tim@smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Righto, team. Time for another online marketing tip from the good folk at Net Registry, who make this show possible, by the way. So, this time we're talking about backlinks and whether it's a good idea to have other sites linking back to yours. Well, late last year, Google's head of spam, Matt Cutts, says, quote, backlinks still have many years left in them, and we still continue to use them in order to assess the basic reputation of pages and websites, unquote. That's important. So they're still looking at backlinks as part of the Google algorithm. Link building can lift your rankings in Google, improve your online business, and ensure your content is seen. Link building can be hard, but if treated like a proper business project, it does pay off. So, you do want to go out and get links back to your site on good sites. Great backlinks deliver targeted visitors to your website and increase your search engine rankings. So when search engines calculate the relevance of a site to a keyword, they consider the number of quality inbound links to that website. So a handful of great links, and here's the thing, is better than hundreds of worthless ones. So maybe those phone calls you're getting from the search engine optimization company saying we'll get you to the top of Google, what they're doing is they're getting your website linked on a whole lot of inappropriate sites. Dare I say, maybe even porn or gambling sites, and you just don't want that. Google distinguishes between the two by considering the content of your website and the content of the site linking back. If the link back is from a website with relevant content to yours, then it counts. Hey? That's pretty simple. And this is where Net Registry steps in. They offer a comprehensive link building service to help build your website's authority in search. So I'd be using them before anyone else. Check them out at netregistry.com.au and tell them Timbo sent you. Okay, team, so I'm getting so many wonderful questions from listeners and feedback from listeners, and I will slowly get through them over the coming weeks and months and years. This one is dated back from March 18, and it is from Jay Morgan of Frankenmuth Old Time Photos in Missouri. I'm guessing that MI would stand for Missouri. Jay Morgan says, it's Jamie Morgan. So he says, hey, Timbo, or maybe not, Jamie can be a girl's name. Hey, Timbo, love the show, driving every week to our old-time photo studio in the beautiful tourist town of Frankenmuth, Missouri. Curious as to your marketing advice for a tourist business that rocks out during summer and events, but gets pretty quiet during the rest of the year. Would love to make it a year-round destination and full-time moneymaker, but the numbers don't show it yet. 2 years in, and during this time of year, it seems like AdWords and Facebook are making money off us, but we aren't making money off them. Should be the other way around, obviously, Jamie. Thanks for your work. Love the show, Timbo. Cheers, Jamie Morgan. And you can check out their website at Frankenmuth, M-U-T-H, oldtimephoto.com. Jamie, I am going to give you 6 tips, one of which answers your question. Sorry, mate, but I need to address your website. It's not as good as it could be. I'm going to be brutal here. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. I think the bar is low. There is room to improve. Here's what I do, mate. Make your website more visual. You are in the business of old-time photos. I want to see lots of fun old-time photos. Lose all the copy and just celebrate the beautiful, fun, old-time photos that you are so good at creating. Number 2, avoid going directly for the sale. I go to your website, I'm hit immediately with 3 PayPal buttons and a big 25% huge off the huge sale red type with 5 exclamation marks. Can't do that. Do a bit of, dare I say, a bit of foreplay first, mate, before going in for the you-know-what. Number 3, have a more structured nav bar. I'd have like a nav bar, the top bar that says home, services, events. If you want to link to the museum that you have on site, then do that, and a contact us button. But your nav bar right now, the second button is mob museum. What's that got to do with old-time photos? Number 4, lose the Google ads. They're ugly, mate. I bet you're not making any money from them that you're running on your site, so lose them. And number 5, introduce yourself. I can't find a photo of you. I want to know who's going to be taking the photos of me when I'm wearing that pirate costume or that top hat and suit. Now, here's the tip to get your business rocking when the times are down. Get together with other businesses in the village in Frankenmuth. hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, and come up with a money can't buy Frankenmuth winter package, okay? So all of you can buy it in. You know, you offer the photos, the restaurants offer some food opportunities, there's a local band, there's the hotel operator, there's the bar, there's the masseur, there's the everything. And get that amazing, amazing package that people just can't resist. It's really not a money can't buy one because you want people to spend money to buy it. But it's like just this amazing, amazing package. That's my tip, Jamie. That's what I do, mate. But get that website sorted. Thank you so much for listening, mate, all the way from Missouri. Listeners, send me a question or get inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum and we answer lots of questions like this on a daily and a weekly basis. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and click on the forum button. Time for that fireside chat I promised you with Mike O'Hagan from Mini Movers and a whole lot of other businesses. This guy's a serial entrepreneur. He was introduced to me by Toby at Blue Wire Media, so thanks a lot, Tobe, for this intro because it turned out to be a very interesting interview on a number of levels. My initial interest in Mike was the fact that he'd built Mini Movers into a successful small business and the role marketing had played, in particular his data mining capacity. But Mike is a self-confessed entrepreneur with ADD. So this conversation went everywhere. I threw the list of questions out very early on. In fact, Mike now lives in Manila and runs an outsourcing tour operations business or offshoring tour operations business, as he calls it. And he does talk about how you can bring your staffing costs down by up to 90%. Listen in as Mike explains why there are businesses everywhere just waiting to be started. He sees opportunities everywhere. He'll explain why and how. What he did after cancelling $1.2 million of Yellow Pages spend in his Mini Movers business. And he talks about the concept of offshoring and why we should all be doing it. I started off by asking Mike what he is exceptionally good at.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Seeing where a niche in the market, seeing a gap in the market, the opportunity to be able to take something and mould it and turn it into something people will give me money for.
Okay, how do you do that?
Look, it's just intuitive. I just see it. I see business opportunities absolutely everywhere. And, I understand that they've got to be different. They've got to stand out. They've got to be have something about them that nobody else can copy. I see those opportunities absolutely everywhere.
That's interesting. It's a sixth sense. So can it be taught?
Yeah, I think it can. There's no doubt that I was not an entrepreneur until I was in my early 30s. In my early days, I owned a business. I had second-hand shops actually in my 20s, and all they were, I was a slave to my business. I only owned a job, and I was in my mid-30s that I worked out that I was working, 90 hours a week, earning the same amount of money as earning my staff are only working 40 hours a week, and I came to the conclusion that was pretty stupid. And it was that point that I became an entrepreneur, that I got on top of my business and started to grow money rather than grow a passion around anything other than making money.
Mike, you say you see ideas everywhere, and I know there's a hell of a lot of people listening to this show who are either in business or stuck in a cubicle. There's franchisees who have bought into an existing business because maybe they, didn't want to start their own. But, are you seeing new ideas everywhere, or what do you see? Do you see problems that need solving, and therefore there should be a business to solve them? What do you see?
It's all of those things. I think it's opportunity and it's problems, and you bring the two together. The internet's created this really neat thing. We can now source whatever we want in a business, whether it be product, whether it be labour or employees or workers or services, or whether it even be customers, anywhere in the world at the best value. And because I call it world's best value, and because you can source things now in a business at world's best value, and you can sit in some remote location and build a business very easily, that's created an awful lot of opportunities, and amazing opportunities that we should be taking, that just exist. And that opens up a Pandora's box to a whole lot of problems out there that can now be solved.
Would you say that the majority of the business opportunities that you see are service-based or product-based?
Oh, both. I have a business which manufactures deep-sea diving lights in Shenzhen, China, and drop ships them from there all around the world. And I own Mini Movers, which is a home in the home service sector, going in and doing short-distance direct door-to-door moving in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide and Perth in Australia. So I'm across all of them. Yeah.
I can see this chat is going to go all over the place, which I kind of love. So I'm going to put my questions aside. Deep-sea diving lights, Mike. What problem did you see there, mate? That one day you were deep down under the ocean and it was dark?
No, one day a very, very clever person in Brisbane, a young guy, he's a very, very geeky, did diving as a hobby, but he's also electronics, and his father's extremely electronic orientated. They conceived a new type of light that will go down into the water. They recognise that video cameras can now be taken underwater very, very easily, very, very cheaply. And as you go down, when you're diving, the light changes. And as that light changes, you need to have artificial lighting to support the videoing. And they recognise that LED technology and the battery technology and some electronics could come together to form a special light. And they developed the light, they tested it, they prototyped it, they did everything, but they ran out of money and didn't quite know how to market it. I found me, and that was it. That's how it came.
Okay, so you were their banker?
Yeah, and their marketer, yeah.
And their marketer. What idea have you seen of recent days or weeks, Mike, that you think, geez, I could start that. I haven't got the time, but someone else could?
Look, I do a lot of work in Manila nowadays. In fact, I conduct business tours up there teaching people what the new things are, what the leading edge things are happening, and if they want to outsource, they learn that as well, which is just a side to what I actually teach them, I think. And I just see make it in the East and sell it in the West seems to be where the profit margin lies. I think looking into the future, I think selling stuff to China is the next big thing behind it. But right at the moment, the profit, the opportunities are all around making something in the East and then selling it into the West. Whether it be time and labour or whether it be actual product, that's where the profit margins in the difference between the costs. There's 90% difference in labour costs between Australia and the Philippines.
It's massive, isn't it?
Massive difference, yeah, huge difference.
Making things in the East and selling in the West, or selling stuff to China, as you say, comes with a whole lot of, I wouldn't say risk, but people in the East do business in a very different way to we do in the West. I don't know a whole lot about it, but having just come back from Shanghai myself, there's just a whole lot of different hurdles you got to jump.
That's why how my tours came about. My mini movers got into a strife with the GFC, and I had to do some pretty dramatic changes to get it to enter the new world and survive. And I moved some of the back-end operations up here. And during the process of doing that, I discovered a lot of Australians coming up here, but over half them get it wrong and get into all sorts of strife because they have absolutely no idea of the differences between the two cultures and the two business systems. And out of that fell my Manila tours, Mike's Manila tours.
Mate, you're a machine. You are a machine at seeding. Do you know what seeding is?
Yeah.
I interviewed Warwick Capper about 2 weeks ago on this show, and you're almost equaling his ability to seed.
Good entrepreneurs are all adults with ADD. We're always all over the place. Just how we are. That's the way we are. I did a 3-year program in entrepreneurship at MIT in Boston, and I discovered all my classmates were the same as me from all around the world, and we were all zigzagging all over the place and full of ideas, and we were doers, and that's why we were all there. That's how the entrepreneurs got there. And
yeah. Well, it's a wonderful thing to recognise too, isn't it? To years ago. Well, interesting. Entrepreneurs, I reckon up until 10 years ago, dirty word.
Dirty word in Australia, not in other countries.
Well, we're pretty good at knocking down those tall poppies who want to try something new and start their own show.
Yeah, very sadly, Bondon's case in the 80s did a big misthing to the word entrepreneur. It really did.
But it's also, you're right too. I mean, the entrepreneurs that I speak to, and I speak to many, they are on the move, and they're always, you're hustlers. I called Capra a hustler, and I'll call you a hustler because you're always looking for opportunities to promote, opportunities to build something new, opportunities, I'm sure, to connect and network. It's probably why you've chosen to come on this show.
Pretty well the only skill that you really need is the ability to sell. And selling is an art, by the way, and it can be taught. And definitely, because I used to belong to an organisation for many years called Salespeople with a Purpose, and it was all about selling and the process of selling, and it's very, very simple. Understand what the customer needs, present it in such a way that suits their needs, and ask them for the sale. And it's if you can sell, you can grow, and you can grow a business of any size. That's the only skill you need. You don't need any other skills.
Easily said. Easily said. I mean, selling scares a lot of people.
Yeah, but a whole lot of bruises and scrapes it got me here, though. It's not a straight line, as simple as it sounds,
Mike, I aren't going to stick to any particular line of question, but there are some questions that I had that I do want to ask you. One is on the mini movers thing. I've heard you say, quote unquote, you started mini movers to make a crap load of money. Clearly, you don't attach yourself emotionally to any business that you start.
Yeah, no, I don't. That was a mistake I made when I was in my 20s. I started a couple of businesses and ended up working these long, long hours, earning not very much money. And my passion was in my product in those days. And I recognised one day in my early 30s, I just worked out, what I'm doing, I'm working 90 hours a week and earning less than my staff are only working 40 hours a week. That's pretty close to the definition of stupidity. And as I thought that through, I thought what I want out of life is a lifestyle that I could see inside the TV box. I actually like big houses. I like big boats. I like a jet-style lifestyle. I have a burning desire for that inside me. And to achieve that, I needed to earn an awful lot of money every week and not have to work. And they were the two principles that I decided my next business venture was going to give me. They were going to just give me an awful lot of money every week, and I didn't have to work. Doesn't mean to say I don't work, but I didn't have to. I could choose how I spend my time. And that is why once you start focusing your business in that area like that, then your business will start growing, because you'll just naturally delegate down, and as you delegate down, the business will grow and grow and grow.
Did you move to the Philippines because it's easier, it's cheaper to achieve a jet-style lifestyle?
Oh, it's just fun. I've got to the stage in life where I've got a few businesses now. My income's nice and steady. It's more than most people earn, and I can choose to do whatever I like. And at the moment, I'm spending my time between Australia and the Philippines. I'm running this business education business up here. My give back to the whole society is to create more entrepreneurs. I have this absolute belief that Australia is doing a terrible, terrible job at creating entrepreneurs, and I believe the more entrepreneurs I can create in Australia, the better the future Australia will have for my granddaughter. And I really, really believe that. I don't think the government can do anything. I think Holmes a Court and those guys that set up the mining industry years ago, I think they set Australia up to what it is today. They were entrepreneurs that did that. I think we now need to be doing that for the future of Australia.
Yeah, well, you are emotionally attached to something, and that's the idea of Australia's future. That's a pretty strong why you do what you do. And it is funny, isn't it, in Australia, where, manufacturing doesn't cut it anymore, and yet we're not building that kind of ideas base, as I would call it.
Yeah, look at the young guy that developed my diving lights. As long as he keeps developing the next thing and we keep manufacturing at the best value in the world and selling into the best markets in the world, that business will always remain viable. And all we're selling out Australia is the idea. Everything else in that business is being done outside Australia. All the money's coming back into Australia. It's really good for Australia. It's pure export dollars. It's the way it is now. The future is changing. Yes, we need to go offshore. Yes, our manufacturing isn't working anymore. 100 years ago, the horse and cart industry got trashed by the motor car. The change has always been there.
Mike, I've also heard you say structured forward planning is a myth, which is, as listeners to this show know, would be music to my ears. But I've also spoken to some very successful entrepreneurs and small business owners who would take the opposite view on that. Do you plan anything, or is it a day-to-day roll the dice?
Oh, look, planning, yes, I do planning. I don't do structured long-term planning. I can't tell you where I'm going to be 5 years from now. And to build a plan for 5 years from now is a ridiculous concept. And certainly the next 12 months or so, we've got a fair idea what we're doing and what we want to do with this business and what we want to do with that business. And we write that down and share that inside the businesses. Of course we do. But I'm just talking about the MBA model structured business plan. Australia got taken for a bit of a ride with this MBA business plan, and the government was running around, everybody's running around, the banks were running around, telling all the small business people they needed a business plan, and, you know, with all this different structure, and that's just not right. They don't need that. They need a burning desire to go somewhere. They've got a fair idea how they're going to get there, and then they need to start doing it. And that's more important than a plan. Most things you plan don't work anyway. By the way, while I've got successful businesses, I've got an awful lot of things I tried that didn't work. So I'm not clever. I can't sit down and plan a business out. I've got to start something and see if somebody attracts some money. And if they attract some money, I just do it more and more and more.
What's the biggest mistake you've made?
In my 20s, not understanding, not realising that you can build a big business from nowhere, thinking of all these myths that are out there, that business is risky. That
the internet wasn't around either.
No, there was no internet then. No.
So I'm assuming you're sort of older than 40.
Yes, I am.
So even back then, because the internet for you has been the game changer, where you've seen it being, you said earlier, you know, it's like it's now easy to start any type of business, really, thanks to the internet. But you're even saying back when you were in your 20s that, you know, you'd wished you'd realised it was possible to build anything at that point in your life.
Yeah, look, it's there's always been business opportunities there. Always, you know. When I started Mini Movers in mid-80s, I started Mini Movers. The boom was in the home service sector. Our disposable incomes were evolving very, very quickly and going up. And as disposable incomes up, we were buying services into our homes that our grandparents would drop dead. If my grandmother would revolve in her grave, as she knew I had someone come and wash my puppy dog and my house, and even somebody to move my house or even paint my house. It was just, to them, they did all that themselves. But as disposable incomes come up, that whole home service sector grew, and that's the wave that Mini Movers rode. That's how Mini Movers grew. It grew because people suddenly didn't want to do it themselves. They wanted to pay somebody else to do it. And those changes have always been there. You just got to recognise them and understand them.
Now, let's talk Mini Movers and the marketing of Mini Movers. This is a topic close to my heart. At one point you were spending, was it $1.4 million on Yellow Pages?
1.2 we maxed out at. The GFC...
Did they take you out for dinner?
Oh, yeah. They used to have book launches, and we had some of the most amazing book launches you've ever seen. One time they completely opened up Movie World just for a couple of bus loads of clients.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How long ago are we talking?
2006, 2004, somewhere around out there. I think that was when it was full on.
Yeah. So, 1.2 mil you're spending. Obviously, it was working, I guess, at the time, was it?
Yeah, it was bringing in $18 million worth of work a year. I count things very carefully, and we know exactly.
Directly attributable, that 1.2.
Absolutely. Our 1.2 million was bringing in $18 million worth of work a year.
Would you have dedicated phone numbers in the ads, did you, to measure that? Or?
No, we asked every customer 2 questions. Where did you get our phone number from, and have you heard of us before? Mm-hmm. And the ones that said, yes, Yellow Pages, and have you heard of us before? No, we used you before. We'd tagged those as used before, so obviously not Yellow Pages. Mm-hmm. And the ones that said Yellow Pages and I've never heard of us before, we'd tag them as the Yellow Pages ones. And we used to do that very, very effectively.
So you peaked at 1.2.
Yeah.
That got down to what? What is it now?
I think about 15,000 this year.
Hello to Yellow Pages.
Well, look, it's not that. It's just changed. That's all it is. And
yeah,
the GFC,
of course.
The GFC,
well, mind you, hang on, they didn't keep up. I mean, I've badgered on about this before, but it's not as if their online presence is, you know, taken over and is really good. So
no, they clearly messed up the online thing.
Yeah.
Because they tried to, they had a very high cost base they couldn't reduce, so they were obviously trying to keep their costs their costs and charges up there, and the thing went free. You know, Google went free. Google, suddenly, if you can find things on Google for free, why are you going to pay to go into a directory? And directories suddenly didn't work anymore.
So where did you were going to mention the GFC, but I'm interested also, where did you redirect $1.2 million?
Well, Mini Movers, what happened really, this GFC hit us, and at the same time we had a big constriction in market size. The main part of our market is people buying and selling homes. That reduced by about 60% in a couple of month period. And at the same time, most people don't understand this, the consumers changed almost at the same time. And that's when the Yellow Pages book stopped working or slowed down dramatically. And they went... the consumers went to a whole lot of different things, including online, and it was that change that we had to think. So I had two problems. I had a big drop in Mini Movers turnover. We dropped from 30 million down to about 20 million. We dropped from about 500 staff down to 300 staff. This was in about a 6 to 12 month period. It was pretty dramatic. And I had red ink all over the place, and I had two things I had to do. I had to address the red ink, which sadly is reducing costs and trying to, when the market reduces, you can only reduce costs really, sadly reducing costs. And the other thing I had to do was figure out a new way to market the company. And we now have a lot of manual data mining and targeting specifically customers, and we do a lot of that from overseas. It's the only place we can afford to do it.
So did you make a decision? I want to talk about this data mining idea. Did you then go, okay, well, Yellow Pages isn't working. We've just, the shit's hit the fan. We need to really reconsider how we market mini movers. Was the data mining idea something that you thought, this is a good idea and we can't do it locally because it's going to be too expensive, we need to do it offshore?
Yeah, I started moving stuff off some of the back end stuff offshore to reduce costs. To be honest with you, it saved the company. If we hadn't done it, we wouldn't be here today, and it saved 300 jobs. We're very, very proud of that inside the company. And as we moved offshore and we looked at what they can and can't do, we also recognised that a lot of our customers, because of behaviour, I don't want to go into it too much, I've still got competitors out there trying to copy me at the moment. But I recognise that it's possible to detect our customers online because of some behaviours they do, but we needed a manual system to do that. We needed people doing manual things online to do that, and we were able to build quite a big machine up here that can manually detect our customers. We know 80% of our customers, before they need us, we know who they are. And
how?
It's a big machine. Well, they have behaviours online. We can detect them. We can marry them up to databases, and we can find out who they are in most cases, or find a way of contacting them, and then we contact them. So
can I just, really interesting to understand, I appreciate you don't want to give away too much, but just so I will really love our listeners to understand data mining. So is this an example? You've been, Mini Movers have been in business for a long time. You've got a database already of people and where they live, and when they moved there. There would then be a database, I'm guessing, on realestate.com.au where homes come up for sale. Is that a database that you then wash against your database and go, existing...
It's fundamentally how we do it. It gets a bit more complicated than that, but yes, fundamentally one of the simple ones would be realestate.com. Obviously, when a property goes on the market, we can run that against our database. We were moving nearly 1,000 houseloads a week at one stage, and we've got 15 years worth of it in the big database. So, with permission to contact them. So we have got a massive, great database, and we can just flood it against that, and we can see we probably moved them in 4 years ago, and we therefore know that our customer we moved in 4 years ago is just about preparing to move out, and that's fundamentally the simplicity of it. Yeah.
And so then does the data mining division then yell out across to a call centre in the other room saying, hey, Joe and Jane Smith are about to move, give them a buzz?
Look, we're generating about 1,600 leads a day. We have a range of different ways we contact them. Some we ring, some we mail, some we email, some we message through other ways. So we probably use every different way that you can contact somebody. We have the ability to do that, and depending on what it is, because we're tracking some short-term stuff and some long-term stuff. So when you put your house on the market, it's going to be probably 2 to 3 months before you move. Mm-hmm. We can see that, and we know the timing around that generally. But if you put a house on the market for rent, you're probably going to move within a week or 2 weeks. And so how we react to each one depends on exactly the situation and who they are.
Mike, for an entrepreneur with ADD, this is an incredibly involved marketing strategy that would involve a hell of a lot of concentration. I'm guessing you don't spend a lot of time working on or in the business doing this type of stuff.
I just come up with the ideas and then go and hire a good database person and say, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And let them, and then come back and see them a couple of months later and ask them why haven't they achieved it the way I wanted it done. Then that's all I do.
Yeah, great. What role, you said you've got 8 businesses. You've mentioned 2, the deep sea diving lights. You've got mini movers. What role does marketing play in any business that you start?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And if you've got customers coming through the door, all the rest of it, making a profit out of them is actually quite easy. If you don't have the customers at all, you've got a real problem on your hands. So marketing's the backbone of every business.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, the ability to sell or the ability to market is what most entrepreneurs really need. Everything else you can acquire quite easily.
Interesting. Let's talk outsourcing, because you've got how many staff have you got on in Mini Movers now? You mentioned 300?
Yeah, I think we're back up to about 350, maybe. I don't know if we're tipping 400 yet, but we've gone back.
What's the split between Australia and offshore?
I couldn't tell you at the moment. Probably to be 20 odd. They're part of. It's only part. I still have a call centre in Australia.
Yeah.
And still have an administration in Australia. I've just got a back office, part of a back office process up here. Probably about 20 staff.
In Australia, and then the rest in the Philippines.
20 staff in the Philippines.
Oh, 20 staff in the Philippines. Okay. Well, of course, you suppose you can't outsource moving. You've got to have the blokes on the ground there.
That's right, yeah.
So outsourcing's a topic we haven't discussed for a long time. And before I hit record, you said you're starting to see some massive growth now. What's your involvement in it? Maybe explain outsourcing. Let's start from the start. I'm not going to assume anything.
Change the terminology here. It's not outsourcing. Every business outsources. Most businesses in Australia have an external accountant.
Yep.
That's outsourcing. That's just getting somebody else to do part of your process. This is offshoring.
Yep.
This is sourcing workers in other countries because of the wage differences. And that's massive, massive growth at the moment. There's 1.2 million Filipinos employed in the offshoring industry. At the moment, about 150,000 of those are working for Australian businesses. The growth up here is amazing. I run tours around this. Every fortnight I run a tour with 8 to 10 people on it. And we've just got a waiting list and people on the tour. It's just the demand is absolutely huge. And it is where the world's heading, and it's why we're getting margin squeeze back down. It's not just GFC margin squeeze anymore. There's a global squeeze coming down because of the ability to reduce costs by using offshore processing.
Okay, so define offshoring for me.
Getting a business process done in a different country.
Okay, so are we talking anything really? Give me what are your top 5 business processes to offshore?
Accountants, law, drafting, engineering, and then just plain business processes, back office processes, administration, wages, sales. All those processes can be done. If it's somebody facing a computer, it can be done in another country.
Okay, that's a good criteria. What's the typical profile of these people, these 8 to 10 people that you're taking around every couple of weeks? Are they small business owners? Are they solopreneurs? Are they managers of large companies?
They're everything. I've got pre-startups, people after the ideas. This is a good way of getting ideas just to start a business. At one stage, 50% of my clients up here were starting new businesses from what they could see on top of their current businesses. SMEs are probably there's a few micros, but mainly small to medium businesses. I've got large 100 million plus business owners coming up, and I've had a smattering of public listed companies on the tour.
Do you think they have an unrealistic expectation of what you call offshoring is going to deliver to their business?
No, they usually underestimate what it can deliver to the business, and when they see it up here, they suddenly realise what is possible. It's the opposite. What they don't realise is that you can't just come up here and get what you want straight away. For instance, if you're an accountancy business, you can't come up here and find qualified Australian experienced accountants. There's no such thing. No. As there's many accountants here, there's a massive oversupply of accountants in the market. Graduates here are paid $84 a week, and there's a massive oversupply.
I thought you said $84 a week then.
$84 a week is what a graduate is paid. That's what they're paid, and there's a massive oversupply of them, but they're not Australianised. So what you've got to do is you've got to come up and train them in Australia. They are accountants, they're fully qualified accountants, but they haven't done anything in Australia. They don't know what the word BAS means, for instance. And if you come up here and you train them, then you've got a really, really incredibly powerful bit of profit making in your business.
Wow. What do you say to people? Let's talk about blockages to people actually outsourcing. There's fear of security. There's fear of handing over sensitive information to people in another country. There's the fear of being called a slave driver. These are things that I've come across that I've heard other people talk about. What do you say to those?
Look, there's one strange thing about Australia, and we've always fought and argued against change. When Henry Ford invented the motor car, they lobbied the politicians to pass legislation to protect the horse and cart industry. 15 years it was completely decimated. The people that run around saying that we have to protect the horse and cart industry have got egg on their face now, I'm sure of that. I think you can't stop change. I think it's inevitable. I think arguing and complaining about it is the worst thing you can do. I think you need to study it and understand it and adopt it, and you can ride the wave and you can prosper out of it, and the country can prosper out of it, not just an individual. So this is a massive change sweeping around the world. It's not just an Australian thing. It's all around the world, and it's huge, and it's just what the Internet's allowed. The Internet's got connectivity in there. This is the change that goes with it. And like massive worldwide change is normal. Complaining, seeing the problems, instead of seeing the benefits is a normal reaction in Australia. It's not necessarily in other countries, but it's in Australia. I think we've got to learn to get over that.
Mike, this is a marketing show, and I'd like to. It was interesting of the 5 top things that people are out offshoring. You didn't mention marketing. I'm sure it's factored in there, and I talk a lot. The services I use, and even sponsors of this show like Swiftly, 99 Designs. There's Elance, there's Odesk. These are places where small business owners can go and get logos, designs, all sorts of marketing outputs done offshore. Talk to me about the kind of marketing that you're seeing getting done, in your case, in the Philippines.
Well, one of the places we visit here do all of the images for Getty. And run marketing processes which are probably more advanced than anything in Australia. It's interesting, actually, because the people on tour, every second tour, they spot some of their work on the screens in there, and they've given their work to some high-end marketing company in Sydney or Melbourne, and it's on the screens up here in the Philippines being done.
No, really?
Yeah, it's normal.
Geez, they'd be a bit infuriated when they see the invoice from the high-end marketing company out of Sydney. Yeah,
well, it's just the way it is. That applies all the way through. The high-end accountancy firms have got massive things up here. Don't want to mention any names, but I can tell you one of them's got 6,000 staff here. It's an Australian one. Another one's got 2,000 staff here. We know. And they charge an Australian what they charge us.
Wow.
And I've given you an idea what the rates are they pay for grads, so the difference is there. Look, that's just the way it is. One thing that you learn by going on my tour here is the education system here is actually better than Australia from the point of view that it's more practical. It's a very practical education system here. They talk Microsoft. English is compulsory here, has been since 1893 when the Americans took over and turned the Philippines into a colony of the USA and put the education system in here. So this is a country that speaks English. It's the 3rd largest English-speaking country in the world. It's on the same time zone as Western Australia. It's got the Americans gave it its education system. It's a very practical education system, and that's the big revolution when you come up here. These guys all speak English and they're better educated, and the 90% less in wages and massive growth in the offshoring industry. Just huge.
For listeners, Mike, they're thinking, okay, well, this outsourcing thing sounds pretty good. It's worked for mini movers. It's worked for many other small businesses. Where do they start?
I think you fiddle around with Odesk or something like that to start with to get a bit of a feel and make a few mistakes and learn some things. Certainly coming up on one of my tours was without doubt.
Here we go. Give us the address. Give us the address for those and tell them Tim sent you.
Mike's plural, mikesmanilatours.com. Mikesmanilatours.com. Or just put Mike O'Hagan into Google and I'll pop up in there for sure.
And is this one of your? Is this pretty much what you personally do these days, Mike? While the other businesses run themselves?
Yeah. This is my. I actually personally do the tours. I have a machine that does all the bookings, and I turn up.
You don't even have a Philippine person anymore. You have a machine.
No, they are Philippine people, but they're working to a machine in a process. I've got some wonderful Philippine staff that run it all for me.
Yeah.
But it's a 3-day tour. It's in 2 cities. It covers back-end office processing, big time, and that's all of it, right through. Yes, your IT, your marketing, your accountancy, your law, and we do all those things. It also covers manufacturing now, where there's some amazing Australian manufacturers up here doing some amazing things. So we visit some of them. And it's 3 days and it's go. It's early in the morning till late at night, and on the Thursday I collapse and the touring people go back and revisit some of the places we visit over the next couple of days. So it's a week out of your life, 3 days back to back, round the clock, visiting places and talking about what we've seen. Now, to a structured process as well, so we make sure you've covered everything and everything been explained. I see myself as an educator, by the way.
That's interesting. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I do too. I've reflected a few years ago on what I thought I did and what value I offered, and for me, it's an educator role. It's an interesting kind of question to ask, isn't it? We can categorise ourselves as accountants or marketers or plumbers, but really, what's the real output that we offer?
What was missing in the market here? There's so many salespeople up here on commissions, and everybody. The whole place works on 10% under the table commissions. I refused to get involved in that, and my tours took off because I refused to get involved in it. And then after a while, I thought, you know what? I'm actually educating them. And if I see it as an education point of view and keep away from the money and the graft and the commissions, if I keep right away from that and just simply sit on top of it so I've got no bias, I become a more effective educator. So I clearly see myself, my role as educating people in business, teaching people business, and not only that, but it's what's happening now. It's leading edge. It's the latest trends, the latest things that are happening. And offshoring just becomes part of it. It is an offshoring thing because it's in another country, but it's also seeing the leading edge of what's happening. You see some amazing stuff up here on these tours, and it's the leading edge stuff, and that's the education in it. I think business is taught wrong. You can't teach business in a classroom. You can't read it in a book. The book's out of date by the time you read it. Come up here and actually have a look at what people are doing right now. That's when you'll learn it, and from other business people.
We don't get out of our comfort zone enough. I've spoken about that before. Getting out, doing a course, going and doing a tour, visiting something new, and kind of breaking the habit. I did this morning, mate. I took my kids to school. I thought, I'm not going to go home the same way. I'm going to go home a different way. Small-minded little thing, but that's. Tell me.
Watch on the other hand, okay?
What's that?
That's like putting your watch over on the other hand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Or try to write left-handed if you're a right-hander. Tell me, Mike. You go 100 miles an hour, mate. You said you come Thursday, you get back to your place and collapse after a tour. What keeps you up at night? Anything? You're passionate about what you're doing, and that drives anything. But is there anything where you get the cold sweats and causes worry?
None of my businesses are perfect. They've all got some imperfections in them, and I'm always worried about those imperfections and trying to get them out. And they change and evolve, so I think that's what keeps me awake generally. I've reached a stage in life where I don't have to work if I don't want to. I can sit on the beach for the rest of my life. If you want to see me go crazy and absolutely out of my tree, try and sit me on a beach in one spot for...
that ain't going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
I don't even know you, but boy, oh boy, I highly recommend don't do that because... I think you'd last 5 minutes, literally.
I'm often asked what my exit strategy is, and my answer's standard. It's a pine box. And I have a very clear vision of being 90 years of age, going into the Mini Movers boardroom or all my business boardrooms and telling the young Turks what it was like in the old days and picking up my dividend check and leaving each board meeting. I have a very clear vision of that.
Well, mate, I hope that happens.
Indeed.
Mike, I was going to say Mike from Mini Movers, but I'm just going to say mikeohagan.com. I hope you've got that domain name.
Haveohagan.com.au. Yes.
Good on you, mate. I really appreciate you sharing insights into about 1,500 different business things.
Thank you very much. Good on you, Tim.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Right, I hope you enjoyed that. Plenty of stuff there. Boy, didn't we go to some places. Deep sea diving lights through to offshoring, through to all sorts of other stuff. Anyway, before I share my top 3 learnings, let me quickly tell you about Swiftly.com. And I say quickly because that's exactly what Swiftly is all about. Small design fixes real fast, like 1 hour fast. Swiftly is ideal for altering your business card details, your logo, banner ad updates, even photo touch-ups. And who doesn't love a good photo touch-up? You simply upload your artwork, any file type is fine, tell them what needs doing, and boom, within 1 hour, it's done, often much quicker. All for just $19 US. Check them out at swiftly.com. That's SWIFTLY. Okay, so my top 3 learnings from Mike O'Hagan and his experiences with mini movers and offshoring and all that type of stuff. Number 1, there really are business opportunities everywhere. So put your problem-solving hat on, guys. Put your problem-solving hat on and figure out what problems people have and what you can do to solve them. My guest next week has done just that, and she has created an empire. I won't say any more just yet. I will reveal who my upcoming guests are after these little top 3 tips. You know, if you're looking to start a business, find a problem and solve it. If you have a business, look at what the central problem is of your clients, and maybe that'll help you introduce another product, another service offering to your already existing stream of business. Number 2, look beyond your suburb or state when needing to get stuff done. And I love the fact that Mike said anything that can be done in front of a computer can be offshored. And I just think we've got to think bigger, guys. We've got to look beyond our suburbs. Just look overseas. I know this gets me into trouble. We should be employing locally and all that stuff. But hey, Mini Movers is built to the business it is partly because of Mike's offshoring strategy. So think big. Think big. There's never been a better time to market a small business. How often do I say that? Number 3 from my chat with Mike, what can you sell to China or at least another country? See, podcasting's forced me to add 2 services to my offering, which used to be just a marketing consultant. I'm now a marketing speaker that travels the world, and I've opened up the forum so small business owners everywhere can access myself and other motivated small business owners. And that's direct result of thinking beyond just being able to service people in my local area. I'd love to know what you got from that chat with Mike. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, look for episode 196 and leave a comment in the show notes. A, I'd love to hear what you had to say. B, that will give you a backlink, thank you, Net Registry, for that lesson earlier, back to your website. And my website has good page rank, so it's a quality backlink. There you go. Love your work. Righto, team, that's it. Leave a comment, head into the forum. I'd love to see you inside there and help get your marketing sorted. Just like Net Registry, get your online marketing sorted. Make sure you visit them. Swiftly, small design fixes done fast. Thanks to those 2 businesses for allowing this show to happen. Upcoming guests next week. I am so excited to bring you next week's episode. I was almost going to put it in this week, but just keeping a lid on it. Just keeping a lid on it. I talked to a house cleaner in Toronto who's become a household name thanks to her incredibly easily implemented and smart video marketing strategy. She's now traveling the world doing more than just house cleaning. You'll find it absolutely inspiring. I've got a couple of travel bloggers, speaking of traveling the world, who are living the dream and making money from it, and a fellow who's making a fortune reviewing frozen foods. Boy, oh boy, that was a big show. We've got so much marketing gold coming up. I can't wait to share it with you because I want to help grow your business. I'm Timbo Reid. You've been smart enough to tune into the world's #1 small business marketing show. May your marketing be the best marketing Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.